Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. And this watch is a hidden gem from perhaps the best kept secret in watchmaking. We have Moritz Grossmann of Glashütte, and this is the Atum. The watch, 41 millimeters in diameter in rose gold, is a handsome German dress watch that takes very few cues from others in the space and forges its own unique aesthetic path. So 41 millimeters in diameter, it's only 11.6 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 50.7 millimeters, with a versatile 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll zoom out a little bit, throw this watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. This does have a broad wingspan, so I'm going to recommend this case size for a wrist my size or larger, so 16 centimeters circumference and up. They do have smaller cases if you have a smaller wrist, but this watch is for 16 centimeters and up. Now, it has a fairly sloped case flank and a rolled bezel, so it will slide easily under a dress cuff or a tight sleeve. The strap's a lovely piece. You can see sueded externally, and then on the bottom, conventional calfskin, and no crimping, no gouging. We have the Moritz Grossmann logo. This is a factory strap. We have a feature that is not universal on Moritz Grossmann watches, and that is a folding clasp. Most of these have pin buckles. This is a nice upgrade. You can see those little spring-loaded ceramic pin snaps. The gold cannot wear down the ceramics. This piece will remain snappy and sharp over time. We have a twin trigger release, and the swing arm acts as a spring there. So you have to press both of these triggers for it to open up. There's the Moritz Grossmann logo. Then you can see the pin that fixes the strap to the buckle. This is a nice piece of insurance against dropping your watch. And if you look at the profile of the buckle, you can see it matches the profile of the lugs. Get very close to where the lug joins the case. Do you see how these are welded together? Now, it's normal to engage in hand welding when you're making very few and artisanal watches. In mass production, almost everything is machining and stamping, so lug welding is a very slow-going process. By hand, it limits production, but that's exactly what you want in an artisanal watch. What makes this a little bit more impressive is that it's not a simple case-to-lug junction. We've got the junction across the top, we've got this little beveled facet, and then we've got a concave profile. Welding and then filing to create these sharp breaks takes a lot of time, and to do this 4 times means this was a laboriously created case. We have a crown that is unbranded, vintage style. There's a kerf underneath so you can dig your nail in more easily, and the dial is made of sterling silver. So it is a precious metal dial and a precious metal case. You can see the Moritz Grossmann logo. We have a chemin de fer, or railroad track outboard, for reading our minutes and seconds. And then we have a small second. You can see that the hands themselves are not made of gold. They're actually fired steel. The indices are made of gold, and you can see that the detail is exquisite. Each one is stepped on its side. But the hands are fired for a brief and very carefully monitored period to get this brown tone rather than the more common blue. If you just cook steel endlessly, it'll turn dark blue, but you need a disciplined, short duration firing with very little oxygen to get this light brown oxidation. You can also see how the hands are needle-like and extraordinarily fine in their finish. Moritz Grossmann makes its hands in-house, and the result is spectacular. The delicacy and detail, second to none at any price for hand design and hand finish. You can also see the cannon pinion as well as the centers of the hands, mirror polished. The way the setting system works is unique. So here you can see we're beaten away. It's our caliber, 100. We pull the crown out. Now watch the crown. It gets sucked right back up against the case. So it's now flush against the case, but the watch is now hacked. The balance is stopped, and I can set the timepiece. And I could say there's almost no dead angle between the time you start turning this crown and the movement of the minute hand. The precision is incredible. Now let's say I've set my time. Again, the crown is already flush to the case. The way this works is normally when you pull a crown, set the time, and push it back in, the minute hand is going to jump in one direction because of play in the setting system and the motion works. Well, here there is no play. Instead, the crown is already flush to the case. When I press this little button here, watch the balance. It ends the hacking function and re-engages the drive so that the minute hand does not budge. And I'll show you that from this side. Okay, let's say I'm going to set this like so. Now, I re-engage. Watch the seconds hand and watch the minute hand. Absolutely no play, allowing you to re-engage without accidentally displacing the minute hand that you have so precisely set. Around back, German silver movement, beautifully made. The first thing I want to shout out actually isn't decoration or even the material itself, but you see how the three-quarter bridge is almost a plane above the base plate? This is a pillar movement where you have a plate above or you should have a bridge, I should say, above the main plate. And this is a pre-Lapine style architecture, much like a marine chronometer where the bridge sits on pillars above the plate. So this is harking back to the marine chronometer tradition of German watchmaking, but also the pre-19th century tradition of how pocket watches would have been made. Now, watchmaking in Glashütte started up in earnest in 1845 with F.A. Lange, but the bottom line is that we are paying tribute to that history, but also the deeper history of watchmaking in Europe. Taking a look here, there's a lot to love. It's a big movement, properly sized for the case. How big? An incredible 36.4 millimeters. It beats away at 2.5 hertz, manual wind, 42-hour power reserve, obviously the unique stop seconds function, 20 joules, and you can see that everything here is artisanal. When you're making 1/10 as many watches as Lange, you can spend more time decorating. So let me show you where that time was spent. First of all, take a look at the teeth of both the crown wheel and the ratchet wheel. Here's the ratchet wheel, here's the crown wheel. Look at those teeth. They're all micro-beveled. You can see that beveling there in steel. Now, the crown wheel core is mirror finished. The ratchet wheel is triple solarized. We have this mirror polished spring extensible click that protects the barrel from running backwards. Notice that the screws here are not simply blued. They're fired to a brown-violet color, again, a shorter firing. We have freehand engraving on the bridges, not just the balance cock. We have that too. But all of the text and characters are freehand engraved. Look how broad and beautiful these stripes are. They have an incredible shading gradient from side to side. Again, you can do this when you're able to go slow and spend more time on each watch. Taking a look now at the edge of the bridges, we do have mirrored bevels. We also have an incredibly intricate freehand engraving on the balance cock and the escape wheel cock. And if you look, you can see that pale sapphires, synthetic sapphires, are used for all the pivot jewels. Chemically, they're almost the same thing as synthetic rubies, but they match the pale aesthetic of the watch better. So you have these clear sapphires for the pivots, and then if you look, you also have them for the pallet jewels. Take a look at the subordinate structures. You can see that the base plate's been media blast and that we have solarization or snailing along with beveling on the bridge for the escapement. Now take another look at the intricacy of this engraving, and you can see that it's executed on two structures, more intricate than Lange, again, just because more time can be spent per movement. Take a look at this screwed micrometric adjustment system that's made in-house by Moritz Grossmann, and so that the watch will keep consistent time in any physical position. Let's demonstrate the in-house balance. You can see that almost all of the timing changes are done using the screws in the rim of the balance, and the balance is massive. I believe it's over 14 millimeters in diameter. So what it lacks in beat rate, it makes up in sheer size and inertia. So that's the balance, and you can see it features both polish and media blast, and then you can appreciate that this index has been faceted and mirror finished. Moving over, you can see more of the freehand engraving. Take a look at the golden chaton cups for the jewels. Back in ancestral German watchmaking times, it was very difficult to directly press a jewel into a bridge or a plate, so a precision golden cup would be created. The jewel would be precision set in the cup, and then the cup would be set into the bridge or the plate using screws, which is what we have right here. Some have speculated that in modern watchmaking, though it's not technically required to set a jewel, it may have some benefits for shock protection of non-sprung pivots. That's an interesting theory. I haven't seen anything to substantiate it, but as much as there is a little bit of extra play, there might be something to that. So if you want excruciatingly detailed hand finishing like nothing else in the business, this is a great way to do it. The watch is 30 meters water resistant, so dress watch standard, no real issues there. I think what's important to emphasize is that where this comes from is a very special place. I know a career watch executive who's been CEO of a major brand, and he went on a tour of independent workshops and companies and all of Europe, he found only one watchmaking atelier that was surgically clean, and everything was a tool in its place, clean, orderly, perfectly tended, almost like the inside of a microchip foundry. And he said that was Moritz Grossmann. Nothing else in Europe compared. That and a million other reasons are why I consider this to be the best kept secret in watchmaking. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.